Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
What will the trend be for the cattle markets as we head toward the end of the year? We've got expert analysis from CattleFax. Plus, learn how to build an effective BRD battle plan that fits your farm or ranch.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Auctioner. This time of year is critical for beef producers because how the fall markets perform can directly impact your long-term plans for the year ahead. Joining us now to talk about the fall outlook is Mike Murphy with CattleFax. Mike, let's begin by talking about some of the seasonal trends we currently or typically experience in the fall and how those are playing out this year.
Yeah, typically you have a calf market that'll move lower into that fall time frame. That's the window that we wean the most calves throughout the year. Yeah. And this year we've actually had a lot of stability of the calf market. We haven't had as much softness when you kind of think about it from early September through the fall window. The calf market on a U.S. average is holding together at about 290 to hundredweight. And we expect that market to be really sustained into the end of the year, and then we'll see improvement past January 1.
Yeah. So let's talk about what cow-calf producers should be thinking about if they haven't already sold their calves. What does the fall look like for you?
Well, I think in general, if you're weaning your calves and you're traditionally going to sell those calves here in the fall time frame, go ahead and take that action. The market's very good. But if you're someone that has the ability or you have the feedstuffs, then looking to retain ownership past the first year, I think will add, $5 to $10 a hundredweight value to that market. And then if you can carry all the way deep in the spring as we get ready to turn those calves out to summer grass, that calf market on a U.S. average could be as high as $330 to $340 this spring. So there is opportunities to hold them longer, but Mother Nature is going to dictate a lot of that here for sure.
Let's talk cattle feeders. We've talked a lot about low cattle supplies, but it seems like they've either found cattle or kept cattle in the yards longer and put more weight on them and really kept the occupancy up. What does the fall look like for cattle feeders? It's
a stable market. We're going to have really good support in that low to mid 80s on the low end of the fed cattle market. And then as we kind of look at the top end, we're going to have some times where we can push that market to like the low 190s. But it's going to be a very stable market. For the most part, when you start to think about the way we market cattle on a value-based marketing arrangement, when you include those premiums into your bottom line, we're going to be profitable throughout for most of the fall. Now, break-evens do get higher towards the very tail end of the year, and then obviously after January 1. But it's going to be a very solid, stable market for the cattle feeder.
Or at least we assume. Obviously, elections, wars, hurricanes, lots of things happening all over the country and the world. What advice do you give producers as we look towards the next several months and move into 25?
Well, I think number one, when we start talking about risk management, really everybody has to identify their own plan. Gotcha. What works best for them. And then the second thing is once you've identified that plan, then execute that plan. Don't let the emotions of, you say, the better or worse get to the best of you. Yeah. Make sure you've executed the plan. And with that in mind, we're comfortable of having people in a spot today where they've got some coverage on, some of that kind of compliance coverage due to the fact that it is a world that changes daily. But overall, from a supply and demand perspective, we feel like it's a fed cattle market that can transition from, this mid 180s area and get into the mid 190s as we get there towards next spring. And so with that in mind, you're not as worried about as much of that downside risk. Yeah. But that being said, to your point, it's a dangerous world that we live in for sure.
You have an upcoming seminar coming up, the Outlook and Strategy Seminar, right here in Denver. And I've attended that seminar several times. It's a great event. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we're really excited about the event this year. We've got a whole host of outside speakers. Jan Lambrecht, who's with Rabo, Dan Hallstrom with the Meat Export Federation, Matt Makins, who you all know from NCBA and Cattlemen going to be doing all the weather outlook. And then Colin Woodall is going to be there with us talking about what does this election mean for you as a cattle producer? And that's going to be really important because right now it's a little bit of a toss-up on who's going to win this thing. And yet we know there's some really big variables, especially from a tax perspective for producers. So he'll be able to give us that update and what we should be looking forward to 2025. And then we'll have several of our CattleFax staff really dialing into what the outlook is for 25 And we're going to extend that into the end of the decade so cow-calf producers have an understanding of where they should be positioned the next 2, 3, 4 years.
That's outstanding. And clearly one of the most exciting sessions at the CattleCon is the CattleFax Outlook Seminar in February. Tell folks what they might hear if they come to that session.
Well, I think number one, we really appreciate having the opportunity to be in front of producers at the convention. It's always very well attended, and so we're excited to be able to kind of speak what we visually see in the marketplace over the next 12 months. It'll be similar to our outlook and strategies, talking about what does it look like from a price perspective for the cow-calf producer, the stocker operator, and the cattle feeder. We'll talk a little bit about what's going to happen relative to weather. La Nina is going to be very important as we look into 2025. Knowing that that's typically a 2-year pattern for this La Nina pattern. So we'll have all that wrapped up there. And then there'll be some of those things that I think we'll be able to highlight from a top level of just politically what we should be thinking about looking into the next year as well.
Know a lot more by then, hopefully.
Yes.
Indeed. Thanks for coming to the show, and thank you for all you do for our industry.
Thank you, Kevin.
If you're looking for top-notch beef industry research, information, and analysis, then visit the website CattleFax.com. While you're there, you can sign up for their Outlook and Strategy Seminar that'll be held on December 3rd. Also, make sure you register for CattleCon 25 so you can check out the CattleFax US and Global Protein and Grain Outlook Seminar. You can get all the details on how to attend at the website convention.ncba.org. Use the promo code C2C CattleCon 25 to get $50 off your registration. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we've got expert advice on how to manage and prevent BRD in your operation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
By installing Ritchie waterers, you save water while keeping it fresh and always available to your animals. You protect the land by keeping natural water clean and soil healthy. And you conserve power because they're energy efficient. We're committed to helping you create a prosperous, sustainable, and regenerative future because we know, like you know, that every saved drop matters. Ritchie, fresh water for life.
Join the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. NCBA is the oldest and largest national cattle industry organization working to defend your interests in Washington, D.C. And there are big benefits to being a member. You get news you can use in the National Cattlemen, email updates in the NCBA Beef Bulletin, plus big discounts only for NCBA members. Join by calling 866-233-3872 or online at ncba.org.
The fight against bovine respiratory disease can be frustrating and costly for a beef operation. That's because multiple factors can contribute to the disease, which makes it difficult to prevent or manage. Here's a look at how Boehringer Ingelheim is helping producers develop a battle plan against BRD.
Kevin Fenton has plenty to do to keep him busy. In addition to owning a veterinary clinic, he also runs his own cattle business. Those dual roles give him a unique perspective on how an outbreak of bovine respiratory disease can have a negative impact on both the health of a herd and the profitability of an operation.
I think it's pretty routine to say that bovine respiratory disease could be our leading problem in terms of financial investment. We all need to remain humble enough to realize that we don't understand bovine respiratory disease to the level that we probably need to.
Dr. Fenton was able to help one of his clients, John Hambrick of Rafter H Ranch, manage his own outbreak of BRD by developing a customized health management plan to combat the disease.
You got to have a relationship with your vet. You got to have somebody at the other end of that phone and somebody that'll answer when you call. We're tickled with the way things are right now. Not saying I don't ever doctor for BRD, sure we do. I mean, we've got 450 pairs, but it's not uncommon at all at weaning to never doctor a calf.
Effectively controlling BRD requires a strategic approach. That's why Boehringer Ingelheim works with producers to create a battle plan to fight the disease.
Building immunity is the first line of defense, especially in this industry today. We're making sure that we get good colostrum in those calves so that we're building antibodies against those diseases that we're going to battle. And then once they get old enough that we can start putting vaccines in them, proper vaccination protocols, making sure we get the right products in at the right time so that we can continue protecting those calves through that production phase.
One of the best tools for combating bovine respiratory disease obviously is the vaccines, and over time not only have we proven the use of modified lives to be one of the most valuable tools that we have in our protocols, we've also proven the safety and the efficacy of those.
Although vaccinations can get animals off to a great start, disease challenges can still overwhelm the immune system. Producers can implement a few key management practices like low-stress handling to help reduce the risk of BRD.
Unfortunately, stress plays a big role in disease, and it can impede how some of our vaccines work and how healthy those calves stay through the production cycle. If we can cut down on that stress, then they will respond to those vaccines better.
The main thing we try to emphasize is we need to be in control of the issues, management situations that we can actually be in control of, whether that's biosecurity or implementing a proactive preventive medicine protocol. In terms of cattle handling, I think we still always need to be mindful and not take for granted that those animals are ever in a situation that's 100% comfortable for them, and try to always make it a little bit more adaptable for them to succeed with the operation that they land at.
Stress comes from your environment, stress comes from nutrition, stress comes from genetics. We manage for stress because, of course, naturally you're going to get any boost in performance and the less stress you inflict, but that gives the animal the ability to respond 100% to his capability to not only the BRD treatment, but to the vaccine that's received as well.
Even with the best vaccines and management practices, some cattle may still come down with BRD, so producers need to have a consistent treatment protocol with a proven antimicrobial to help the animal's immune system fight the disease.
It's finding those sick calves, finding them early, having good pen riders that can recognize disease and be able to pick them out and get them to the chute system where we can work them really quick.
We always strive to get those animals treated as fast as possible, and if we're going to do that, then obviously we want to use a product that works as fast as we can get it into the plasma levels and to the source of the infection. So rapid response to treat those animals, and then ask that antimicrobial to do the same thing once it enters that animal.
With the right products, proper management strategies, and an effective treatment plan, producers can put their cattle on track for lifelong productivity and well-being. To build a BRD battle plan that fits your cattle operation, visit brdbattleplan.com. Reporting from Oklahoma, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
To build a BRD battle plan that fits your cattle operation, or to learn more about Boehringer Ingelheim's full lineup of products, visit bi-animalhealth.com. Still to come, we'll explain how sound grazing management can improve the sustainability and profitability of your cattle operation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
There's never a dull moment for the Nelsons. Fifth-generation Montana ranchers. Since 1868, they've been herding cattle, reeling in trout, and exploring Paradise Valley from their backyard. Here's to another 150 years of adventure. There's a story in every piece of land. Run with us on a John Deere Gator XUV and start telling yours.
It's time to vote for your favorite competitor in NCBA's National Anthem Singing Contest. The winner will sing the Star-Spangled Banner at CattleCon 2025 in San Antonio. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to perform on the big stage at CattleCon. It's all sponsored by Norbrook. Voting takes place November 1st to the 15th. To see the finalists and cast your vote, go to convention.ncba.org.
Good grazing management is crucial for cattle producers as it directly impacts the health of both the livestock and the land. Here's a look at how a few small changes to how you graze your pastures can have a big impact on your bottom line.
Good forage is the foundation of a successful cattle program. For years, the top cattle producers have relied on rotational grazing to improve the health of their pastures, improve soil quality, optimize their forage, and maximize their beef production per acre.
The benefits of a rotational grazing are several-fold, but particularly you're helping Mother Nature take care of that grass first and foremost. And so if you look back in history and how the buffalo grazed this, you know, they would go through as a mass herd and graze it and leave and be gone for quite a while, may not come back to that area for a while. So we're using the same concept as that in a way.
If we graze the grass all the way down to the ground where it's just eaten down, you know, grubbed clean, that grass is so stressed and the roots, they have to produce that energy that is very slow in regrowth. And so we actually get a better yield, a better return on our grass over time if we go in, take it, rotate the cows out, water it back up. It's back to 100%, right? It's back to a full load of grass to where it can be grazed again in a shorter time.
We're, like everybody else, trying to do a better and better job of taking care of soil health and forage health, and a big part of that is allowing enough rest. We want to bring in the cows for a short time, avoid taking a second bite, allow, and then get off that grass and let it recover to allow root development, soil health, a healthier, more resilient forage, better soil health, and hopefully more production.
Grazing management is very important to any livestock operation because it is the source, it is our factory from which we make a living on. And it is where all the equity of our ranching operations or our grazing operations are built. We can do a lot of other things to optimize our ranching operations and our grazing operations and to get revenue, but proper grazing is the greatest way to impact that.
It allows us to stock more animals on same acres, which is, you know, buying land is expensive. And if you focus on the soil and the grass, the cattle and the profitability of it will come because of the stocking rates.
Having a written grazing management plan is essential, which is why NCBA puts on an interactive workshop at CattleCon, sponsored by NView and USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, to help producers better understand how to create a productive and sustainable forage system. Attendees receive hands-on practical demonstrations on key aspects of grazing management while also learning how this will affect their bottom line.
I think it's been a really neat opportunity just for people to talk to each other. It's been nice for there to be a panel of experts there to sort of answer questions on a specific basis with the different special topics that are at each table. But then it also gives an opportunity for the ranchers to talk to each other.
It's real informal, and we're getting all kinds of questions from one gamut to the other. You know, and you've got vast differences from the east to the west to the north to the south. And I can't answer them all. I know what works on ours, but the principles are still the same.
One tip from the experts: an effective grazing plan requires detailed record keeping about the history and condition of pastures. This information helps guide producers in making informed decisions regarding grazing strategies, pasture improvements, and resource allocation.
Record keeping is important. We keep a lot of records. We're recording when we rotate. We record the grass height when we move into a pasture, and then we record the grass height when they move out and how many days they were on that pasture.
We track our yields. We monitor those very closely. End of season, we're counting head days on which pastures to determine how much grass did this pasture produce. And then we do an evaluation. We say, okay, what can we do better so that next year will be better than the last year? We're the constant optimists. And we pray for a little rain, and when that happens, sometimes we, strike on all cylinders, and it's really good.
Learning how to adjust the grazing and recovery periods is an art, but the best cattle producers are willing to take the time and effort to learn how to optimize their grazing management.
You see tangible results, and we can see improvements. And sometimes it's not immediate. You have to be patient. And you have to be willing to try something new and different and monitor your results and make adjustments accordingly.
I've had some friends that want us to help them with a grazing plan, and I just love to do that because it's helping others. I know what it can do to your sustainability of your business. If you can manage your grass and your soil and livestock in a profitable way, you're able to have a sustainable business.
If you're looking for ways to take your forage resources to the next level, then you should attend the Grazing Management Workshop at CattleCon 25 in San Antonio, Texas. Each attendee will receive their own grazing management workbook, which will help you to craft a personalized plan for your operation. Go to convention.ncba.org for all the details. This segment was made possible by the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service Grazing Lands Conservation Initiative Cooperative Agreement.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association offers lots of ways to learn about new production and management techniques that can help improve your grazing management. To find out more about all the great educational programs available, visit ncba.org and click on the Producers tab at the top of the page. We'll be right back to wrap up our show after this. Stay with us.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
BRD stands for bovine respiratory disease. It isn't a specific disease, but it's the complex that we deal with. This particular group has used Grazing KP. As they were using the KP, one of the biggest things they brought up to me was how much quicker the response was. They see that it works, and when you figure your cost into it, I think it's a significant return on an investment for them.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association works every day to advance the political and economic interest of U.S. cattle producers. We had a chance to ask some of NCBA's producer leaders how being a member of the organization brings value to their operations.
You know, I think what's helped me the most being involved in NCBA over the years is the network of folks that I've met across the country. I can think of several instances where maybe I've had a question about a production practice or maybe some marketing questions, and there's always been somebody I can call and visit with and get their perspective, get some advice. I think that's probably the most rewarding part of being involved in NCBA.
NCBA has fought so many fights for me. I couldn't specifically pick out one, but the tax issues are huge. The federal lands issues are huge. Every issue that they're engaged in is something that affects all our producers back in Oregon. So to pick out one would be really tough, but the overall spectrum of everything that they do is just amazing.
The big thing is the tax, help us on taxes and help us get the next generation, keeping them in the industry. Like I said, I have a 31-year-old son that's full-time on the operation, and that's the reason we're here fighting, is for him to keep on and for maybe his kids to keep on in the future.
One of the most important things cattlemen and women can do is join the fight to protect our industry by becoming a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. It's easy to do. Just call 866-233-3872, or you can go to the website ncba.org. We're wrapping up this week's show with legacy photos. These are shots submitted by our viewers of daily life on the farm and ranch. Let's take a look. Now, it's not too early to start making plans to attend CattleCon 25 in San Antonio, Texas, February 4th through the 6th. Registration is now open, and you can get all the details at the website convention.ncba.org. Use the promo code C2C CattleCon25 to get $50 off your registration. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week, right here on RFD TV.